Welcome back, West Hills Wood. This is Harold Osmer. We have a mahogany table with a bench. This is a solid mahogany table. Again, this is West Hills Wood. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll take you for a little tour here. Okay, so Julie, you know Julie, right? Yeah. This was a picture of a table that was in her house when her and her brother bought the house, and they always liked it, and they figured they would make one. Well, brother Matt did. And so he bought a bunch of wood. He had a bunch of mahogany put together. And then he had the misfortune of getting cancer and not being around long enough to make the table. Anyways, Julie asked me if I could do that for her. So we did. So we got all the lumber over to the shop. There's Dan sizing it up. First thing you got to do with these boards, you need to line them up side by each and see if you got square sides and whatever else, and decide if you want to use the grain going one way or another. Well, this thing is, we're going to make this table is 8 feet long and almost 4 feet wide. And so we glued it up in 2 pieces. And there you go. And after you get your 2 pieces, then you put them together into 1 piece. And so that's what we did there. Yeah. I could show you how to run this over the table saw and through the planer, but nah. I don't do that. It takes too long to set up the shop, or the shot, as it is. So I'd much rather be doing wood shop stuff than making videos. But anyway, so there's Dan showing you just how big this table is. And there you go. Now this is the bottom of the table that we're looking at. We got the top side pretty well smoothed out. We didn't put any finish on it, though. We just left it down. And now this is the bottom, and we smoothed it a little bit, but we didn't really work on it too hard. We did throw a coat of finish on it, though, because you need to seal all around the wood. You want to get all edges, top, bottom, the whole thing. We didn't pay a ton of attention to it, but we did make it look nice, and so here you go. So now we use that as our workbench. Of course, we need legs, and this is the only part we drew a plan for. We knew what size we were going to make the table, but here's the plan. That part A is going to screw down onto the parts B, which are the actual legs, and then you have to glue all of that together. These pieces are about 1.5 inches thick, and they're almost 4 inches wide. So there's all 4 legs getting glued together there. And in the end, that's what it looks like. You can see that piece on the left. We have lag screws that go through there that screw into the tabletop itself, and then this way we can bolt that piece to the table. And eventually we can screw our legs to that piece, whatever that piece would be called. Here's a leg detail. Kind of a boring leg detail. So we went over to the CNC machine and put some scrolls on our legs. Just on the outside, the visible part. The interior part we didn't worry about. But we put some scrolls on it. And then there we go. Nice V-bit. I do like that Shapeoko machine. It's been a good, fun, interesting, valuable tool to me. So here we go. We've got a little runner across the bottom. You can see there's some holes there where we got some big screws that run up into that. So we're glued and screwed. And then we glued our legs together. Here's the one side. And race cars, yeah. And here's the other side of the legs. Now the legs are glued and screwed at the top as well, and they're in the shape of an M, which was planned because Julie's brother was Matt. And here you can see how these things are attached to the tabletop. Now on the top of this board that's bolted to the tabletop, there's 3 really long screws that go down into that, and they're framing screws, so they have big heads on it. Of course, we needed a bench. So we glued together a couple more pieces here. And we put the fish on there because one of Julie's favorite pictures of her brother shows him with a fish. So we put a fish on. And I used that CNC to do that as well. And I was also able to make these curves that way too. Now, something we found out is that this is a little bit narrow for the feet on this, so I get to rework this legs on the bench a little bit to make them a little bit wider so it's not quite as teetery. But here you go. Once we got it done, we sanded the heck out of the top, flipped it over, and put a whole bunch of good stuff which is wonderful stuff, actually. And you can see the bench hides in between the legs, so you can tuck that away. You know, if you make the bench to run the entire length of your table, whoever winds up sitting in the middle on the bench is really uncomfortable. So we made it a little bit narrower. One of the wonderful things about any kind of wood is you wind up with fabulous grain that appears in different manifestations, let's call it, depending on where the light is coming from. And it's beautiful, it's wonderful, great to touch. So the only thing left to do, you know, carry it out to the truck. Yeah, well, that's part of what Dan's for. And we put a bunch of blankets down, and then we put it in place over at Julie's house. And there we go. It's 8 feet long and 39, 40 inches wide. Julie had to think about it for about 4 seconds to decide if she really liked this thing or not. And she loves it, and it's wonderful. And I did play with her emotions a little bit. There she is. She's great. Played with her emotions a little with the fish on the bench and the M on the legs and whatnot in homage to her brother. And she sent me a picture of this, which was the first meal that her and Conan had on the table. Yeah, heart-shaped sushi. And there you go. The grain pattern's lovely. It rubbed out real nice. It's a good stuff finish on there, a bit of a polyurethane kind of finish on there. And that's it. That's our mahogany table. Be sure to like and subscribe and send beer.